I'd like to bring this meeting to order today, May 18, 2026, Southern Shores Planning Board. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Looking at, everybody got in the agenda, approval of the agenda. I would ask for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I second it or approve it.
Is that I'm sorry, Vice Chairperson Collins making the motion and Robert second?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of bobbled that one, sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, we'll do better here. Approval of the April 20th, 2026 meeting. I had a correction or two. On the first page there, Wes, I would think that in the members, it probably ought to be noted that Natalie was the voting alternate.
Yes, sir.
And then on page 4 of the meeting, of the minutes, in bold, at the end there, it says motion carried. I would say in something as substantial as this, we should show the count.
Yes, sir.
Motion carried 5-0.
Yes, sir.
And then it would be the same on line 248 on page 5. Once again, in that circumstance, I would say the motion carried 5-0.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else have any corrections in there? Okay. I'll move to approve tonight's minutes, or the April 20th, 2026 minutes. Could I get a second?
Second.
Robert seconds. Any discussion? No. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, none. Okay. Public comment. Mr. Osmond, would you like to speak before we get started?
Sure.
Thank you all for meeting with me again on short notice. I would just like to say that the proposed amendments, zoning text amendments that are coming before tonight, I'm fully in favor of all of them. I think that the town of Southern Shores, as we all know, we want to keep it low use, low density, more on the residential side, as you brought up last town meeting I was at, or planning board meeting. But we all know in truth that we can't control that, right? People are going to come here, they're going to do what they're going to do. I understand the setbacks, I understand all that, but there needs to be something in the town code or the ordinances that if somebody genuinely makes a simple, honest mistake and they're 7.3 inches encroaching into a backyard setback, there needs to be something, an administrative relief for that. You can't expect somebody to go tear down a $30,000 building or move it 7 inches when you're clearly still within 24 and a half feet of the property line. It's not like you're on somebody else's property. You're on your own property. You just encroached into your own backyard setback by 7 inches. So I think the proposed amendment allowing a 10% encroachment is good for the community, and I vote for it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot. Since there's no other public comment, we'll move to old business. There is no old business, so we'll get right into the new business, Wes. if you can give us a brief synopsis of CTA 2026-02.
Yes,
Doesn't have to
sir.
be word for word, but
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. The first application under new business on y'all's agenda tonight is ZTA-2026-02. It is a town zoning text amendment request submitted by the town of Southern Shores to amend Town Code Section 36-132. At the May 6, 2025 Town Council meeting, the Town Council directed town staff to draft Town Code amendments to modernize the town code. As a result, town staff has drafted ZTA-2026-02. And the purpose of it is to allow property owners to obtain a building permit and/or zoning permit for development when there is no proposed increase in the footprint of existing decks and/or stairs, as long as they meet all other applicable requirements, without having to go through the recombination process in situations that involve adjacent lots under the same ownership. Specifically, the ZTA would amend Town Code Sections 36-132A, 2, A, B, and C. They currently require all adjacent lots that are under the same ownership to be recombined into a single lot, which may or may not meet the minimum requirements for the RS1 district or other district, or multiple lots which meet the minimum requirements for the district in which the lots are located prior to a building permit or zoning permit. I included in the staff report the definition of development and then the three different scenarios when development triggers a recombination requirement. Town staff has determined that the proposed amendment is consistent with the town's currently adopted comprehensive land use plan, and town staff recommends approval of the application. This is another common concern that we're bringing you all for consideration. This exact concern was brought up, if you all may recall, at the January 29, 2025 Planning Board meeting, when y'all considered the motion. The last time we made some adjustments, some revisions to the non-conforming lots recombination requirements. A citizen spoke, property owner spoke during public comment, and Bleed submitted a letter to you all about it. Currently, when someone does have to go through the recombination process, they have to obtain a plat from a surveyor, a recombination plat. Then they have to submit the plat to the town. There is a review, administrative review. The fee is $50 per lot. So your typical situation is 2 non-conforming lots, $100 fee. Then the plat has to be taken, not by town staff, to the Register of Deeds office in Manio. They also have a fee to record it. And in most cases, the property owner does not live nearby, and they have to have it, they get it notarized in the state they live in, have to ship it overnight or what have you to a contractor or to a family member or someone who then takes it to our office. It's reviewed and approved. That person then takes it to the Register of Deeds. So it's a process to go through. And in this case, we are asking for, that the proposed amendment would create an exception that this process would not be triggered when somebody is proposing to renovate or replace stairs and or decks that involve no increase in footprint. If y'all have any questions, I can try to answer them. That's the gist of what we're asking for in this request.
how are other structural changes handled where you would need to get a building permit, but yet you weren't using extra footprint?
I don't know if I follow the question.
Say if you wanted to go in and do an extensive renovation inside, put a new,
Interior remodel, okay.
right.
What's
Yeah.
with the
And you've got to get a building permit for that.
Depending on the work and the cost, if the cost exceeds $40,000, greater than or equal to $40,000, it's an improvement that requires either a licensed general contractor or it has to be the owner acting as a licensed general contractor. So in that case, if the cost is over $40,000, and if we were to see that that this is only a non-conforming lot, it is development, and they're required to get it recombined prior to issuance of the building permit.
Which seems a little onerous for a project that would be $50,000. When you're talking about having to go through recombination for a kitchen.
Where does this 50% of the value of the structure come into play? If the renovation is $50,000 and it's a $2 million home, then recombination wouldn't be required, would it?
Not in that instance if it's development or demolition or redevelopment that doesn't exceed 50%. But in this case, we're creating an exception for stairs and or decks, notwithstanding what that says.
I'm sorry. Demolition and redevelopment means completely starting over, redevelopment. I'm sorry. I was reading that as renovation.
Development or redevelopment exceeding 50%.
Now, I think what's in there for decks and stairs completely makes sense. Hopefully they wouldn't exceed $40,000. But
Even if they did, the way
it could.
the way this is worded, even if it did, it would still not have to be recombined. This
Okay.
would exclude it from that.
That's the trigger for a permit.
For a building permit, that's
Building.
unless there's it could be less than 40 and it was just something that's structural, so to speak. So it is possible to have a building permit. It is possible when a building permit is required if the cost is less than $40,000. But for interior remodels where you're not changing the footprint, if you're just remodeling a kitchen,
Yeah.
if it's $42,000, it requires a building permit per statute.
But not to be recombined if it's in that situation where you would have to recombine on a major project. If it was $42,000, a kitchen,
I wonder
you
if
would
we
have to
should,
recombine.
Yes.
I wonder if we shouldn't relook at those values since the price of
Well,
doing things have gone up so, and how long has that 40,000 benchmark been there?
It's been a while, but
The statute is changed. It used to be 30. And before it was 30, it was something else, I'm sure. I don't know what it was. But,
yeah.
I would say that it's most concerning. I can't speak for all property owners, but I would just say it seems like in most instances where it's a concern, a major concern, is if it's decks, if only decks or stairs involved. If people are spending more than 40, then it's not as much of a concern. But usually you're in the spring when folks are property owners are repairing their homes, getting it ready for the rental season. They're touching up on decks, replacing handrails, deck boards in some cases. But if it's less than 40, it doesn't require the building permit. But I think if you were to try to say and separate kitchen renovation from other work, I think at what point do you draw the line? Stairs and decks, it's pretty easy to make that, to distinguish
Right.
from different work.
Not that I want to tie that into what we're here tonight for, but it is, it needs to be fair that you can go in and do a renovation in your house that doesn't add to the footprint and spend a gob of money without having to spend a gob of money and a little bit more. The process that you told us about, having to go to the register of deeds. And I mean, I've been there. I've had to do it 2 or 3 times. I know the drill, and it's expensive, and it costs the people a lot of heartache that are having to do it. I mean, I just think it's something that we may need to look at at another time.
Oh, yes, sir, sure. We can, if this were to move forward as is, then we can make adjustments later if needed. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But if you all wanted to make a recommendation to that effect tonight, you all could do that too. But if we wanted to see how this goes and revisit that later, that's another option too.
Well, I would certainly think that it needs to get looked at, just as these stairs. I mean, the people that had the issue with, and, you know, brought this to the forefront, had to incur, you know, by the letter of law at the time, they had to incur some cost. And if we can help people out that are doing extensive remodel without touching anything on the footprint, I would be for that.
Yeah, we would need a little bit of time to
Yeah,
to draft
Yeah.
that language to make sure that we're getting it right.
Yeah. okay.
But yes, sir, I think that's a good point.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Wes on the ZTA that we're looking at?
I think just to be clarified, we're looking at the proposal of changing the ZTA setbacks or leaving it as is and adding this administrative adjustment where if an error was made that we would.
No, we're not there
No?
yet.
Okay,
402.
This is,
okay,
this is ZTA 2026-02.
okay.
Yeah,
So I agree with you. We could pass this and move on. I have to ask the question though. I mean, development is, the definition includes renovation, substantial repair, those kinds of things. So item B, demolition or redevelopment exceeding 50% of an existing structure's value. That to me sounds like you can renovate your kitchen for $80,000 if your house is worth, over 160
Mhm.
without requiring the recombination.
But then you still have A and C. B is only one instance, but then you have A, development is proposed upon land. Renovation is proposed upon land, which includes one or more non-conforming lots adjacent to one or more other lots. Or C, development is proposed of a new structure or use to be located on two or more lots. And there's no 50% threshold.
Okay.
So yeah, in
So, yeah,
in some instances, B may work, but in most of them, A or C is what applies.
Is what's going to kick in.
Yes,
requirement.
exactly. That's
Okay, well, let's stick to our agenda tonight and revisit that another time. Because
Okay.
I kind of agree with you. That's pretty onerous. Or it may be.
all right. And as far as, the stairs and deck being exempt if they don't add to the footprint, I'm assuming that there's a building permit involved.
If they're replacing it, yeah, in most cases,
Yeah,
yes.
stairs
Yes,
usually.
yeah, it's structural. Even stairs, even
Yeah.
if it's $5,000, building permits.
I mean, does that need to be in there, or we
I don't-
already, know it?
I don't think so. I think,
I know Kevin's always, or any building inspector I've ever worked with, they want to make sure those stairs work and handrails the right height. So I'm assuming that's the case here.
yeah, typically we tell folks if you're doing anything with the stringers
Yeah,
or the handrails,
which you are going to generally.
if you're replacing the stairs, then yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would entertain a motion to approve ZTA 2026-02 as written by staff. Is there a second?
Yeah.
Robert seconds.
You proposed it.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of my motion to approve or to recommend ZTA 2026-02 to town council, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None.
Thank you.
All right, one down. Now we'll get into
No, the other.
the footprint, I mean, the errors now, which. Okay, Wes, same drill, I suppose. Can you,
Yes, sir.
well, for starters, I did have one thing noted on my notes tonight. And could you, before we get started with this ZTA, and it ties into the next ZTA as well, can you just brief the planning board? I was at the meeting, the town council meeting, but can you brief the planning board on the action that town council took on TCA 2026-01?
Yes, sir.
You sent it to us, but
At the May 5th Town Council meeting, Town Council tabled their decision on ZTA-2026-01, and they directed town staff to draft an accompanying ZTA that includes generators, 144 square foot accessory structures, and other service equipment that town staff recommends. There's that, and they also directed town staff to draft a ZTA to provide administrative relief for errors of building.
okay, that's just briefly what transpired. I spoke to the town council and gave them an update on what we had decided at our last meeting. So, thank you, Wes. Okay, so looking back again, ZTA 2026-03. Can you give us a brief synopsis of that, Wes?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This next application, ZTA 2026-03, is an amendment request, town zoning text amendment request submitted by the town of Southern Shores to add Town Code Section 103 to establish requirements for the approval of a reduction in minimum yard requirements based on error in building structure or site feature location. As just stated a minute ago, at the May 5th council meeting, council directed staff to draft a ZTA that it adds administrative relief as an option when errors in building occur. As a result, town staff drafted this ZTA that you all are considering. Discussion of administrative relief began during consideration of ZTA-2026-01. The request submitted by Mr. Osmond to establish a 10-foot minimum side yard setback requirement, 20-foot minimum rear yard setback requirement for pool equipment, pool sheds, accessory structures up to 150 square feet, and mechanical equipment in the RS1 zoning district. This proposed amendment with the language that is similar to the town of Duck's reduction in minimum yard requirements would establish that the zoning administrator may approve a reduction in the minimum yard requirements where an existing or partially constructed building or structure does not comply with the requirements that were applicable when construction of a building or structure began under certain circumstances. The main one being that the error does not exceed 10% of the minimum yard setback requirement. So the only zoning, the only provision that this would apply to that someone could receive relief from is a setback requirement, not building height, not landscaping, not lot coverage, 10% of setback. And then there are things to take into consideration when considering such requests. Town staff has proposed that the amendment is consistent with the town's currently adopted comprehensive land use plan, and we recommend approval of the application. I did reach out to the town of Duck Planning Department, the town of Nags Head Planning Department, just to get a little bit of feedback from them on their ordinances. Their language was included in your packets. The town of Duck ordinance, their language was adopted in 2004, and they did it mostly, and they did it mainly in mind with when they were the most recent municipality to incorporate in Dare County. And they put this into place thinking that there may be issues or problems associated because the area that is now in the town of Duck fell under Dare County's zoning ordinance and requirements. So they put this into place to mainly as a relief option. for
In
that.
'04?
They put it in the ordinance in '04.
Wow.
Yep. Town of
Okay.
Nags Head, they put it in their ordinance in 2015. And both of the representatives I reached out to, they both said that it is not a common request, but they have never had any issues and they've never had any appeals to their Board of Adjustment, disagreeing with the zoning administrator, where they disagreed with the zoning administrator, where somebody requested relief and were denied, and then it went to the Board of Adjustment. Both jurisdictions said that has not happened. That was kind of one concern I had is there room for ambiguity? But I think if by saying 10% of an applicable setback requirement is pretty black and white, it seems to me. But in the event if the zoning administrator thinks they don't feel comfortable making the call, then they could always just deny it and say you can appeal it to the Board of Adjustment or seek a variance. But in both cases, they said they never had to go to that level, never got to that level. I can try to answer any questions that y'all have about this, if you have any.
Do you think that we should put some kind of language in there that if it was tried and failed, I mean, just what you just said, if it was tried by an applicant and failed, it would revert back to the planning board, Board of Adjustment? I mean, which way does it go if for some reason that it?
It would be, so it would be a decision by the zoning administrator, and the decisions of the zoning administrator that are established based on requirements in Chapter 36 zoning, Chapter 30 subdivision, it's all appealable to the Board of Adjustment.
Okay.
So I don't think you have to say it. Even if without it in there, it still would be a decision that can be appealed to the Board of Adjustment.
Right. But on the other hand, if it was made by the zoning administrator at the time, and someone came back and said, hey, wait a minute, I don't like this decision, then what happens?
They appeal it to the Board of Adjustment.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. Does that make sense? That if, as the zoning administrator, Wes made a decision and a citizen didn't like the decision, then it would revert back to the Board of Adjustment,
Yes, sir.
correct?
And this is all in relation to that 10%?
This ZTA would establish the authority for the zoning administrator to allow encroachments into setbacks up to 10% of the setback amount, so 1.5 feet or 2.5 feet, but not to exceed the amount needed.
Yeah.
So for example, if someone puts in a swimming pool and if the side setback is 15 feet, let's say it's 14 foot, 6 inches, then the zoning administrator can waive that 6 inches and let it stay in place.
Up to 1.5.
Up to
feet.
1.5. But if it's 6 inches, but if it exceeds if it's 6 inches short of meeting the setback, then the zoning administrator can only grant that 6 inches. In other words, they couldn't say, hey, yeah, you don't meet it by 6 inches, but you can go up to another foot if you wanted to.
Robert, you got anything?
Couple things. One is I noticed that in the town of Duck, they had a provision for the zoning administrator adding prescription, some conditions, like it specifies that you have the authority to do that, whatever you decide. Like, yeah, you can do this, but you need to put some landscaping, or you need to put a fence, or you need to do something like that to mitigate negative impacts. And I noticed it wasn't in there. Was there any reason for that?
Yeah, because I thought that would put more on the zoning administrator and leaves more for questioning later on as well.
Yeah.
You only require 2 bushes for this gentleman over here. Why did you require 10 bushes for me?
Now, I'm with you.
Yeah, or they had, their shrubs had to be 6 inches at planting. Mine had to be 1 foot. You know, I had to do a live oak. You had to do a crepe myrtle.
And I,
And you're not talking a large area. I mean, you're
Right,
talking
yeah,
just a
yeah.
small.
I just
That's
thought
right.
that I cracked the door open a little bit more for that disagreement.
I don't
I'm-
disagree.
I'm-
I was curious why it wasn't.
Right.
I'm still hating the fact that we put this on the zoning administrator. I mean, it's subjective, but if it's followed as it's written, then it makes perfect sense.
It should, yeah, and
And-
that's why I wanted to reach out and hear from, when I first heard about this, I said, I'd never heard of it.
No,
And Duck and Nag said, so I reached out to them and wanted to get their feedback about it before I went too far with it.
yeah, no, I think
And
it
again,
is.
how many times, is it something that, they might have 3 incidents a year? It's not like they have 20, mistakes that come to them a year.
I think the town of Duck, I want to say they said that they might have it twice a year.
Mhm.
And then what we're proposing also only applies for something that has already been approved that met the requirements. The town of Nags Head allows for people to request varying from the requirement before a permit is issued. And
I was going to ask you that. If
I don't like that.
I
You can
would,
be proactive.
That-
and-
I think the intent, what the council directed was, the intent was for it to apply to errors,
Yeah, this is
not
a lot more
Not ahead of
narrow.
time, not saying, that our setback requirement says 25 feet, but we'd rather it be 23 feet.
Yeah, you're acting as the board of variance just about, or board of adjustment on the front end of a building permit. I wouldn't care to have that.
Right. And the lots, they go, some of the lines are so,
Hmm.
off, they're not straight, they kind of go in, and, because we had that on our lot where we were 10 inches and they had already poured the slab, consequently had to move the garage over, the second garage, so, yeah. And we didn't have this to say, hey, can we have 10 inches?
I had one question, Wes, in that how far into a project would this encompass? Like, say, if you were building a house, complete package, a house, and the foundation survey caught that a row of pilings was too far over, and there's another 100 pilings sitting in there. How far do we dig into, like, at the foundation survey, where the footprint of that house is?
Yes, sir. So I would say as soon as possible. And let's say it is a new house, a new construction, yes, sir, where we do require a foundation
Yeah.
survey. So we know before they start going too far with it. I would bring it up then and say, hey, you got an issue, you're 6 inches over, or whatever it is.
Well,
We have this in place,
yeah,
or you're gonna have to meet the requirements, or you can request a variance.
no, I'm still thinking that, a couple of houses that I've done had 120 pilings in them. Boy, you get 3 or 4 of them down the line messed up.
We wouldn't know. we
By
wouldn't-
just a few inches, you would come begging to the zoning administrator for relief.
Yeah.
And I think it should be given, just as coming to the end of a project, when a cabana's setting over
And then
less than 8 inches.
So for a new home under construction, it's gonna most likely, we would first know about it, most likely following submittal of the foundation survey. And that's prior to the framing and sheathing inspection.
Yeah, or slab
It
inspection.
depends, yeah, it would
would be
depend, yeah, well, it kind of depends, but for, let's say a swimming pool or a shed or something, it would be an as-built survey once it's.
Yeah, yeah. But it could happen and be extremely expensive
It
at
could
the
be.
piling stage.
It could be, yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes. It could still, yeah, they could get that foundation survey and it could still be a costly error on their part.
Yeah, but that relief would still be available.
Regardless of the phase of construction, yes, sir.
Yeah,
Whether it's
yeah,
foundation survey or as-built survey.
okay, right. And that's the way it should be.
Partially constructed or completely constructed.
That's good. I'm glad you asked that question. Not just for as-built.
I noticed, and I talked to Wes about this today, that it's geared towards the property owner, both Duck and Nag's Head. And I don't, if you look at the ZTA on page 2, let's see, it's line 17. Number 2 says the non-compliance occurred in good faith and through no fault of the property owner. Well, it's through somebody's fault. It might not be the property owner, it might be whoever, but I don't necessarily think that we need that language in there that says through no fault of the property owner, and maybe replace it with the non-compliance occurred in good faith by the property owner and or his agent. Does that make sense? Because oftentimes it's not the property owner that's out there pulling the strings and he's got a tool belt on it. It's the guy in the field.
Staff would have no objection to that change.
Well, how do y'all feel about it?
I would take the fault out. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
I would say strike, the non-compliance occurred in good faith. We could put in good faith by the owner and or his agent, and that would encompass his contractor. And then skip through no fault of the property owner.
Yeah, based on how you put it, it would strike out and through no fault of, and in place put by the property owner and or his agent.
Yeah, that sounds good to me if everybody's in agreement. Jan, you okay with that?
Yeah.
Do we need a motion on that, Wes?
If you all are inclined to recommend approval of this ETA to town council, you could say someone can recommending approval as amended to the town council.
So do we need
Motion, second, and vote. Yes, sir.
on this particular strike through that, or,
Oh, I mean, I would say at the end, you could just do one to as amended,
Okay. Okay.
unless you have other amendments that you all
Yeah.
want to bring up.
Yeah, I don't think the owner needs to be, and it's also down on number 4, maybe that should stay in, to enforce compliance. Would cause unreasonable hardship upon the owner and or his agent. Once again, everywhere where there's owner, I would put and or his or her agent, their agent.
I know you're a contractor, but I don't care about his agent. I care about the
Well,
citizens.
You are an agent
The
when you
citizens.
work for somebody. The CAMA permit, the contractor is the agent of the owner.
They both do say that same thing.
Yeah. So we'll change those locations. We okay with that?
I'm just, hang on, let me just do it. Yeah, or his agent is used in the town code currently throughout. Responsible agent, his agent, or his agent.
Yeah, it's in there. Okay. Anybody have anything else for Wes before we get a motion and vote this thing? Okay. Well, at this point, I would entertain a motion to recommend approval of this and send into town council at their next meeting, CTA 2026-03.
I recommend that we move that we approve the CTA as amended with the language changes that were suggested.
Thank you, Robert. Can I get a second?
I second.
Jan seconds. Any discussion? All in favor of Robert's motion, please say aye and raise their hand. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. That carries.
Thank y'all.
Yep. We voted, it's already too late, and it's not consequential to what we're voting, but I'm assuming, I'll just look at my note in the margins, that your decision or the administrative decision would be noted on the CO. Should be.
It would be noted on CO, yes, sir.
I didn't think it was worthy to interject it in this, but I'm assuming that.
Yeah, that we would have to document why it didn't meet
Yeah,
the requirement,
okay.
the setback.
I mean, that's a
requirement.
given. It shouldn't be in here.
And we could take it a step further, maybe, I'm not sure yet, but we can also have it shown on an as-built survey if we wanted to. Have the
As a note.
if we've already required an as-built survey, we could have, because it's going to show,
Sure, yeah,
instead of 15 foot, it'll say 14'6". Or it'll show a 6 inch discrepancy, and we could ask the surveyor to put a note as to why.
yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
And then the CO would just clarify further.
Pretty good idea. Somebody comes along years later.
Having it on a
wants
CO,
to know, how did this happen? And they say, well, Wes made that call.
or the zoning administrator.
The zoning
But,
administrator
yeah, having it
made
on a
that
CO would make it easier to find when somebody's looking through the file.
Yeah, I would think so. But noting it by the surveyor on, as a notation,
call. You could get that.
I don't think it'll cloud anybody's title. Okay, now. I really hesitate to even take this on since there are only 3 of us here, this next ZTA, but I haven't changed my mind, and I think that you all voted the same way as I did. We'll just have to see when we get in here, but it is unfortunate that only 3 of us are voting, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Wes, can you enlighten us on this situation?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This is the third and last item under new business, which is ZTA 2026-04, which I kind of touched on earlier as you requested. This is ZTA directed by the town council at the May 5th, 2026 council meeting to accompany ZTA 2026-01 that the council held a public hearing on in May 5th and tabled a decision on. And this is the ZTA. It's very similar to what Mr. Osmond submitted, and you all voted on at your meeting last month. Request to amend Town Code Sections 36202D4 and 202D5 to establish a 10-foot side yard setback requirement and a 20-foot rear yard setback requirement. And in this case, as directed by council, it is for accessory structures up to 144 square feet, generators, pool equipment, mechanical equipment, and their associated platforms in the RS1 zoning district. Council, in their direction, also stated other service equipment as recommended by staff. And staff did not have any other service equipment to recommend, nor do we, in our recommendation, think that generators should be included in this proposed language. It did slightly reword, revise what the language Mr. Osmond presented or proposed. It's slightly reworded. And then it also adds, and their associated platforms. So it doesn't just say pool equipment, mechanical equipment, HVAC. Typically, they're on platforms, not always, but if it's on a platform, this removes that question from it. So we are requesting or recommending approval of the ZTA as that it applies to minimum side yard setback requirement for for generators, pool equipment, mechanical equipment, HVAC, and their associated platforms, 10-foot side setback, and then side yard setback requirement, 10 feet for generators, pool equipment, mechanical equipment, HVAC, and their associated platform. And then for accessory structures up to 144 square feet, 10 feet also, 25 feet, 20 feet for rear, 20 feet for accessory structures as well.
But this isn't Mr. Osmond's ZTA, this is the town's ZTA.
Town
correct?
staff, directed by town council, yes, sir.
So it's a whole
This is a
new
new ZTA. So
ZTA for us.
the council, they held the public hearing on 2026-01, Mr. Osmond's application. They opened and closed the public hearing at the May 5th meeting, so it will be most likely be an old business item on the June 2nd town council meeting agenda. So they would go back to that before they would get to this potentially.
Right. But you say you changed the wording a bit, it's still overlapping in certain things.
It still requests a 10-foot side setback requirement instead of 15 feet. And it still requests a 20-foot rear setback requirement instead of 25 feet. The only thing that's changed in this equipment, or it added to it, was generators. This adds generators to the equation.
And took,
Mr. Osmond did not. And it also applies 144
Right.
square foot accessory structures instead of 150 square foot accessory structures.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I wasn't clear the first go around, but
I didn't even get any of that. I think I missed that first round of,
that's what I'm saying. Yes, sir. So, yeah, so 10 feet, generators, pool equipment, mechanical equipment, HVAC, and their associated platforms from the side. 10 feet, accessory structures up to 144 square feet from the side. 20-foot rear for generators, pool equipment, mechanical equipment, HVAC, and their associated platforms. 20-foot rear, 144 square foot accessory structures.
like I said, it's the, at this point, what we're looking at is the town's ZTA that's completely independent from the original or the ZTA 2026-01, right?
As directed by council, yes, sir.
Right. Noted. Yeah, I was here and I truly had to revert back to YouTube to hear what I heard. It's a little confusing.
Are you talking about at the council meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure they'll sort it out next month. Wes, could I get you to pull up that comprehensive CAMA land use plan? Everybody read that? The town of Southern Shores is a quiet coastal community comprised primarily of low-density, single-family homes interspersed with passive and active recreational facilities, navigable waterways, forest, and open space. The town's identity is intimately tied to its natural resources, history, and residential nature. We strive to protect Southern Shores' environment, enhance the small commercial district located on the southern edge of town, and preserve the town's unique qualities by maintaining the existing community appearance and form. That was from the land use plan that we adopted in September of 2023. I think encompasses why we live here, why we decided to move here, why we're here today in a manner of speaking. So I would like to, while I'm reading, read what I read I sent an email to all the town council because I wasn't sure I was going to be at their meeting. I had some dental surgery. Anyhow, I sent them the bulk of this. I'm not going to read it all, but I sent them the intent section in section 36-202. I can't remember if I read this out at last planning board meeting or not, but I'm just going to read the last sentence in the intent for single-family residential district. In order to meet this intent, the density of population in the district is managed by establishment of minimum lot sizes, building setback and height limits, parking regulations, and maximum occupancy limits for single-family residences, used as vacation cottages. This intent has been consistently endorsed over the years by a vast majority of our residents as well as our seasonal visitors. To vary from this original vision of our town would run counter to the wishes and the desires of its residents and visitors alike. I went on to tell town council about our April 20th planning board meeting. I'll skip down one paragraph and just summarize, but the planning board felt strongly that current regulations for side and rear setbacks have served our town well for many years. We concurred that a minor unfortunate error on a single individual property does not merit a town code ordinance change that would accommodate pool sheds and accessory structures up to 150 square feet within the long-established side and rear setbacks. However, we were in favor of allowing the proposed changes in the setbacks concerning platforms for both HVAC and pool mechanical equipment. In summary, the planning board voted unanimously 5-0 to delete, in quotes, pool sheds and accessory structures up to 150 square feet, end quote, from the ZTA, and to allow platforms for both HVAC and pool mechanical equipment in the side and rear setbacks as written by the applicant in ZTA 2026-01. That is our recommendation to town council. And I read that to them, and I I don't think I had a question from anybody, if I can recall. So here we are tonight with the ZTA basically showing how we voted. It's not all lumped together. We broke out the HVAC and the mechanical platforms and recommended not to go with the staff recommendation for changing setback. So if everybody will turn over to page 2 of the text amendment, we can kind of look at what we've got, how it, Wes has reworded some of it that fits in with the original 2601 version. Starting with line 23, notwithstanding the provisions above, the minimum side yard setback for generators, which is added, pool equipment and mechanical equipment, HVAC, and their associated platforms shall be 10 feet. That's what we were unanimously in favor of. Is that correct? Does everybody agree with that statement? You okay with that, Jan? We,
Yeah,
if you look back at, and I don't want to
I know.
digress back to the original ZTA.
I had that. If you want me to bring it up on screen.
Okay.
This is the original 2026-01.
So item D, we said no to the accessory structure end of that, and we said yes to the mechanical equipment in that ZTA. And then the same thing
You all.
below.
So this is the staff report that I gave to town council. This is what you all recommended is this. Notwithstanding the above, for platforms for mechanical equipment and mechanical equipment HVAC, the side yard setback shall be 10 feet. And then notwithstanding the above, for platforms for pool mechanical equipment and mechanical equipment HVAC, the minimum rear yard setback should be 20 feet.
Right.
That's what y'all,
That was it.
that was it.
No structure
Correct.
was approved
Correct.
and recommended, right? Robert?
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah. You were here.
I was here, but that doesn't mean I remember.
Okay, well, now, rather than having to pull out what we were in favor of and leave in what we weren't in favor of, I think the way that this ZTA has been reworded by staff, starting with line 23, makes it a little bit easier for us to vote on whether we are for 4D or are we against it? Are we for 4E or are we against it? And then the same for number 5.
I have a problem with the structure
Yeah.
on E. And again, because we talked about it the last time we were here, that could be like a little pool house and,
It could be anything the way it's
yeah.
written.
Whereas a mechanical equipment and a platform is, almost a see-through. And this is a little larger and it's a little more encroaching on what used to be the 15 feet or the 20 feet. Now we're 5 feet closer.
Yeah, and
I'm not in favor
Just-
of that.
no, and we weren't at the last meeting. It was a 5-0 vote, just what you said. But now it's coming to us in a little bit different form where line 23, starting with line 23, that addresses the pool generators and mechanical equipment. And I would certainly be in favor of D, but E would run counter to what we agreed on at our last planning board meeting, which was no structures allowed in the established, long-established side or rear setback.
Right. Now, unfortunately, there's a lot of people who have already built and had to face this and do things differently. And for us to indiscriminately say, okay, now it's all right, we'd have, I think a little backlash on that as well. And I think going back to, what we talk about it being a residential community, sure, we're giving a little bit, but we don't have to give up the intent of our residential community. That's my feeling.
Robert?
Can you shed any light on how the number changed from 150 square feet to 144 square feet?
Yes, sir. So at the last meeting, planning board meeting, that's what staff recommended was 144, and that's based on, it's the dimension. If you build a shed that is greater than 12 by 12, that requires a building permit. If it's 12 by 12 or less, it only requires a zoning permit. So that number, that 12 by 12, seems to be a pretty well-known threshold.
Okay.
So we felt like that would be easier for folks to go with.
Okay, I see.
Learn, go by, if they weren't already aware of it. It seemed like a number that's easier to apply, because if it's greater than 144, greater than 12 by 12, that's when it goes from requiring just a zoning permit to requiring a zoning permit and a building permit. The 150 as presented by Mr. Osmond and the other, his original language, that would require a zoning permit and a building permit. But we felt 144 was a more reasonable number.
The accessory structures, item. An accessory structure that would be a cabana, a pool house, or something like that. I absolutely agree with that's really changing sort of the game. The idea of a 12 by 12 shed that lots of people buy at Home Depot or buy at Sheds or Us or wherever the hell they get it, and just stick out in the yard, and it holds the lawnmower and whatever. That's the kind of thing that, sure, 10 feet's fine. It's not creating a big nuisance to your neighbors, and it's, that's the kind of thing that makes me want to, that gives me pause about the thing, is that we can't really define what the use of this structure
Who's going to
is.
monitor it?
And so it gives me a lot of pause. I wouldn't want to buy a shed and have to have it, in my buildable footprint.
Wes, can you hit those pictures for me? We'll have a little show and tell. But some of them we've seen already. Most of them we have.
This was the one that was shown at the town council
Yeah.
meeting. We were asked to show, this is pool, it was supposed to be a pool equipment. There just happens to be HVAC equipment behind it. But what's front and center is the is pool equipment.
Well, it's certainly not a work of art, and hopefully the owners would be courteous enough to screen it from their next door neighbors, but there's nothing there that says they have to.
This was from the last planning board meeting.
Okay, yeah, this is one over in Chickahawk that might fit the bill of dropping it in there on the weekend. I don't know. But
Yeah, I don't know where that is in relation to the setback, if that's inside or outside or whatever.
Yeah.
But
That's one that I built in Chickahawk for a family member, and it's not 12 by 12, it's bigger, but it sits on the lot. It doesn't encroach the side yard or backyard setback. It doesn't send us over the limit on lot coverage. We complied, and that's what you get. That's next door to my house. And unfortunately, those people haven't been courteous enough to put a screen on. I'm not going to be one of those guys that say, hey, why don't you, I'll buy the equipment. Why don't you let me build you a screen? So be it. That's a new house that has two structures, and I'm not advocating riding around narking people out for doing stuff, but I mean, I just snapped a picture of that. There's a hot tub on the far side and then the outdoor kitchen on that side. And I'd asked Wes earlier, is there any restrictions to the amount of accessory structures you can have on a single lot? Because there's three right there. The pool is an accessory structure, and those two things are also accessory structures. Is there any limit?
Lot coverage, setbacks.
That's it. Okay. All right, let's see the next one. There you go. Probably didn't have to get a permit for that one. I'm not sure if it's a doghouse or a shed. I suspect it's a shed, and it might have lawnmowers or pool equipment, or who knows? And who knows how close it is, but that would be a hard one for the zoning administrator or permit officer to check in on. But, and then this one is a another well-done unit, but it was rolled in. It's on skids. You know where that one is?
and so that one's probably in the setback.
Not
I
my
mean-
concern at this point, but moving forward.
Well, part of the problem that I have with the examples is, the pool equipment thing, you're talking about noise and visual, whatever. The other things are a matter of aesthetic, if it's just, and we can't
govern that.
We can't legislate that. We can't say this one's okay and that one's not,
But we can protect the long-standing side yard and rear and front setbacks that we have for a large majority of our residents. And that's, I think, what our job is up here is, do we want to give away some of that, or do we want to keep it? And this board voted 5-0 to keep it. And I think it's important that the town council realizes that it is something that I was looking at in the land use plan, and it was funny. The top concern in the query that was sent out to all residents, the top concern in 2023 was what? Anybody want to take a guess? Traffic. Number one concern. Number two concern, however, was preserving the natural environment, wetlands, forest, beaches and wildlife was the number 2.
I don't think this falls under that.
No,
Okay. Anyway, Wes, you made a comment about the generators. I don't think, I think the fact that the generators would only run, very seldom, that's one of the reasons that it doesn't bother me to include it. It's not any more visually objectionable than pool equipment, mechanical equipment, certainly. It's usually just a plain old box. And it wouldn't make noise very often, so I don't have a problem with including that in there. So,
it is what is the zoning, the North Carolina Building Code, residential building code say for generators and their proximity to a house or a structure?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I do know that they have been permitted almost right up beside the house.
Yeah, I think one of the
I've seen-
council
I've seen-
members,
I've seen them close to a house and I've seen them not close to a house. So I'm not sure I don't know what the building code says. I'm not the code official for
Yeah.
state building code. But yeah, Mr. McLennan,
well,
staff's concern is noise generated by generators. And living in a coastal environment, yeah, we hope we don't have to hear them often, but when we do have a storm, depending on how long the power's out, they could run for some time.
but that was the concern, was noise.
Mainly, yes, sir, for generators. They're louder than your typical HVAC unit.
Oh, yeah, but,
And some of them start once a week. They run on a test on a schedule.
yeah, and that, you can govern how often that test is run.
Right.
But so that was something that staff, on the direction of town council to see about getting generators in the mix. Staff went against what town council recommended. Is that
We
what I
are,
think I heard today when I watched YouTube?
what we are recommending is not to include generators. Council directed us to include generators.
Okay.
It's included, however, staff recommends disapproval of including them
Yeah. That happens.
based on mainly because of noise.
Yeah.
Some of them, some of them are really, really, really nice. They get really big. Some of them are, diesel, and a truck has to back up to them. And,
Yeah.
there are different levels of of course, if you were to limit a size, that might be one thing, but when you say generators, that there's no telling what kind of generator you might get.
I guarantee you, on about day 2 of a 5-day outage, you'd be begging your neighbor to let that thing rip as loud as they wanted to.
Or some
I want
neighbors,
to keep my
somebody-
shrimp frozen.
well, there's that, but then also, this is just joking, but also, of course, somebody say, well, let me hook up to it. Let me get my refrigerator running, my AC running while your generator's running.
Now, I think people get over noise real quick. I don't have any heartburn about a generator's noise. What I do have a heartburn is decreasing the setback.
I agree.
well, if you want to make a motion to that effect, I think you should.
Well,
And that's what we're saying is, they generate noise, but putting them even closer to a property line is what we're not recommending. To put that.
well, in order for me to make this motion, we're going to leave generators in. Is that okay? Because I'm going to make a motion.
Well, I don't know, you just talked about that.
Well, it's in, and we'll let Wes figure out how to get it out if town council wants it. But I have
Me
no,
or Wes is going to get it out.
I have no problem with generators, but if it's a consensus among us that we follow staff's recommendation, then we should take generators out. I'm saying I have no problem leaving generators in there, because I heard different members of the building community and the town council kind of act like they didn't mind generators up too close to the house. So I would prefer to
We
leave.
had ours in a room in the garage.
Jeez. Inside.
Well, it was vented.
Yeah,
but
okay.
It was, yeah.
All right, well, if you don't have any problem, you got any problem leaving generators in?
No.
Okay. Fine. All right.
But we're gonna take out that
Well,
144 square feet
Yeah,
in
what-
E.
I'll make a motion if it's time, I think. I move that in CTA 2026-04, under 4D, line 23, we leave that in as written by staff and take out 4E, which is setback for accessory structures. So we'll leave in D and we will scratch E. That's one part of it. The second part is, starting with line 30, once again, 5A, we will leave in as written by staff. 5B, which is written by staff, we will take out, or we will not approve. We say no. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Jan. Discussion before we vote. I struggle with it, but I'm just, I don't know. I think we're the envy of a lot of places. And if you want more and you want to be more crowded into your neighbors, maybe this isn't the place for you. Anyhow, that's any other discussion. All in favor of my motion and Jan's second, say aye and raise your hand. Aye.
No.
You're no?
I'm no.
Okay. You were yay.
No.
No, it's fine. 2-1.
2-1.
Motion still carries, I'm assuming?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's how it will be reported to council at their June 2nd meeting.
Correct. All righty then, back to the agenda. Public comment one more time. Mr. Osmond, you hung in here with us? Sure. Planning board member comments. Jan,
No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Robert,
I don't have anything to announce.
I'm done. Announcements, Wes?
The next regular meeting is scheduled for June 15th, Monday, June 15th at 5 PM.
I know for a fact I won't be here for that one, so hopefully 3 others will be anyway, or 2 others. Wes, you got anything else?
That is all, Mr. Chairman. Thank y'all.
I would make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I have just one thing, sorry. Only because I wrote it on my list, that in June, we would ask Wes about lab results at the wastewater facility. So that was,
I've already made a note in the calendar, and I think it's July and December to look into the reports.
okay, thank you.
So it won't happen in June, it'll be July.
I'm just marking that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thanks for reminding us, Jan. Okay, any other business? Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Meeting adjourned.
No, 144 square feet.